Scored 100 points. LeBron had a triple-double with 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists. In LeBron's last two games, he is shooting 80.7% from the floor. The Lakers are 11-1 in their last 12. Things are not going well for the Clippers. They lost to New Orleans Thursday night, 105-99, fourth straight loss for the Clippers. Congratulations to the Southern University women's basketball team. The HBCU team beat Sanford Thursday 65-53 in the play-in round of the NCAA tournament. Southern advances to the field of 64. Their first round game is Saturday against number 1 seed South Carolina. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating at?
Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now they get some soul.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Hey, it's Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Creator of our show, Tina Towns, will be joining us in this hour as well as the next hour to discuss all things relevant over the course of our last week's shows. And I'm also grateful that John Diggles will be joining us as well. John Diggles just managed my campaign for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District and did an extraordinary job. He is an amazing, amazing talent in the reputations management business. John Diggles has trailblazed notable firsts while serving as a catalyst for growth, change, and reinvention. Recognized for superior achievement in reputation management, Mr. Diggles advises business, faith, and political leaders and brings expertise in comeback, turnaround, and reinvention. John is founder and CEO of Ascent Strategy Group, the first agency built to power healthcare's digital transformation. The agency's immediate impact generated Innovator Relations, the year of recognition for John and Modern Healthcare Best in Business Award for Healthcare Marketing and Public Relations. John has played a pivotal role in reshaping the health tech market through global campaigns to introduce first-of-their-kind medical devices He established partnerships to advance health equity and drove adoption of remote patient monitoring, wearables, dental lasers, and virtual health management. An alum of Edelman and MWW, Mr. Diggles guided renowned brands, created the premier health and wellness practice in public relations, and built an agency home for the world's biggest brands in sports nutrition, wellness, plant protein, joint health, and medical technology. John Diggles, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns.
Jesse, it's always good to be with you anytime, but Fat Meat Fridays are a great time.
Hey, Gina,
Okay,
welcome
y'all
forward to the
gonna make
show.
me hi, everybody.
John, there's so much going on in the political space, and I know that you're joining me live via the phone. We just came off of a 9-month, 10-month campaign, and I'd like to talk about for a little while the new space that is political campaigns. Everyone says that voters need to vote in the midterms, but the dynamics of the modern campaign are very different than the ones that I remembered from 1995 to 2012. The Citizens United has changed the landscape. The money that comes in the last 2 months of the campaign that most campaigns have no knowledge of, have no involvement in, but it really, really changes and shapes the dynamic of races. And so you may talk about all of the issues that your constituents want to hear, but in the last 2 months, when the big money does come into these campaigns, oftentimes the candidate's message for their constituents is often drowned out. John?
It is a bad development in our politics. And, it's interesting. We're even learning of money that came in the last month in a lot of these campaigns, including ours. And it's a real problem in Illinois, for example. $62 million of PAC money came into the races, and we still had about 2% turnout in Chicago. We had historically low one of the lowest turnouts we've ever had since 1942. This sort of process has really affected our politics, and candidates end up talking about who's getting money from whom instead of the issues and the solutions. And it has clearly affected the turnout and the engagement in our democracy. It's a significant issue that we have to discuss, analyze, and solve.
But on the question of solving the problem, I don't know how you do that without the Supreme Court reevaluating previous decisions that have allowed this massive amount of money to enter these contests, John.
I totally agree with you, Jesse. This is a decision by the Supreme Court that has opened up so many of these lanes for money and interests to guide these elections and to really decide which candidates will be funded, which voices will get that backing. That's a real problem for our democracy. And you can understand why people feel discouraged. You can understand why people feel pushed out of the process. And you can understand why people might fold their arms and stay home. But all that does is give power to the dollars versus the votes in our democracy.
That's interesting because I remember one of the early decisions that we made in our campaign was to support and participate in candidate forums where all of the candidates were present. I think 10 candidates earned their way to the ballot. That is, they took their time, they shook the hands of voters, they made their case for voters, they had these voters sign petitions to get their names on the ballot. They survived the challenge process if, in fact, their signatures were not legitimate or valid to be on the ballot. They earned their way onto the ballot. And then suddenly in the campaign, you find this very small group of people who might be favored candidates at the very top. In my race, I was obviously one of those favored candidates. And the candidates forums began excluding everyone else who'd earned their way to the ballots. We kind of held the line on democracy in our campaign, insisting that all candidates participate because these influences and forces do everything they can to shape the races before they even begin. Correct, John?
That is correct, Jesse, and I give you a lot of credit that you would not step on the debate stage unless every candidate who was on the ballot was on the stage. They had all earned their way. And because of that, candidates that had very little money were able to step onto the race. There was a specific candidate in our race that you would not, you just insisted that everybody be on the stage. And I think she really benefited from that. She had a tremendous showing. She did not have a lot of money, but she had enough to really show and really put herself in position for her next race. So hats off to you, a tip of the cap to you, Jesse, for insisting on that, because that's the only way our democracy will stay healthy, is if people like you really, really hold ground and insist you will not step on the stage unless those who have earned their right are also on the stage.
And when she got on the stage, she did not have too many kind things to say about me either. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with John Diggles and
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Good old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating that?
Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now they get some soul food.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Meat Fridays. We're recapping with our campaign manager, John Diggles, from Ascent Strategy Group, the first public relations agency built to power healthcare's digital transformation, who is our very special guest on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Gina, how you doing?
I am doing okay. It has been a long month, 9 months, a long month, and a long week. But I think there's been a lot of meat to chew on from the weekend. The last segment, you and John were recapping the outside influence money, independent expenditures that come into these races all over the country. And I thought it was interesting that you saw in some races that there was money that didn't come in for a candidate, but rather against another candidate. And so, pick one, anyone. Let's put this money behind this person so that this person, is at a disadvantage.
I got a reprieve. I got a reprieve in my campaign. In fact, there was on the Friday before, about 10 days out, an interest group filed a FEC form to spend $1 million in the final week of the campaign against me. They ultimately decided by Sunday not to do so. They probably knew that what we would later find out on election day, that it wasn't worth spending the $1 million.
Yeah.
But the idea that the candidate, that this money doesn't just come in for campaigns, it comes in against candidates.
Absolutely.
It comes in against candidates. And so you might as well, if you run for office, particularly at the federal level, you can just wait until the last 3 months of the campaign or the last 2 months of the campaign to wait for this big money to come in and shape the race. And I find that deeply troubling.
Yeah.
I find that deeply troubling.
I would not have called myself necessarily a student of the election process itself, but certainly an observer for ever since I was in high school. I found it fascinating. And I remember, learning that, certain people's wives owned, Heinz ketchup. Let's just, some people come into politics with a lot of money and they advance themselves and their races with their own money. And that's one thing, but it's certainly another thing when you have the money of an individual or an entity like that then comes and influences other people's races.
It's really interesting. Really interesting. Towards that end, there's some people who come into Congress who know people all over the country and all over the world. And there's some people who come to Congress just from their local politics and they don't know anyone in the world. They're learning the ropes of the institution itself. The Kennedys come to Congress, a kind of brand, right? The Jacksons came to Congress, a kind of brand. And then there are the unbranded that come to Congress, which creates its own dynamic. Hey, John, let me ask you this question about, is there anything that we can say that will be helpful to future campaigns about this trending of low turnout in Illinois? About 20% of the electorate showed up and determined the outcome of these races. What does that mean for the resistance movement? And what does it mean for the anti-Trump, pro-Hakeem Jeffries movement, if in fact these numbers stay this low in other contests around the country?
It is definitely something we must repent to. It is its own new kind of fighting for voters' rights again. It is a new era of fighting for voters' rights. And, 61 years after people crossed Selma and fought for those rights, assaulted violently, fighting for those rights, we face a very different kind of challenge in that voters are being really marginalized by law, which makes it illegal for interest and invest deeply in candidates, but also a Supreme Court decision that is going to change, that is bound to change the Voting Rights Act. I just think there are some significant threats to our democratic process right now.
I think that's right. Gina, I think John may have to go out and come back in, but Gina, let me ask the same question of you.
I don't know.
What the turnout? It's very low.
Yeah, just if people have lost faith in the process. And I don't know how that necessarily resonates or equates for people that I just don't participate. Like, where is your fight? What do we fight for? What are the things that constitute us getting up off of the couch, out of our faces, out of the phone, out of our feed, that cause us to want to fight? And is it a matter of, I don't really feel the pinch of that So therefore, it doesn't affect me, and I am not prone to do it. I'm just not sure if we have created such a comfortable society that we just don't have the will to fight anymore. I think that requires some study. And I hope that it doesn't have to get too painful before, people pay attention to that.
My biggest worry, is I saw on CNN today that the president of the United States said that soon Holman from the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency would be spreading whatever it is that they're doing all over the country. It's occurring at the same time that there's a war in Iran. Mm-hmm. It's occurring at the same time when gas is spiking at, in some cases, over $5. Could go up even further, but a minimum of $4 per gallon around the country on average. There is an unease in the electorate, and I just don't see the ways in which Democratic Party talking points are emerging. Now, I do know that there is a No Kings March that is taking place, I think, next weekend.
28th, I think it is.
On the 28th, which, will obviously put a point on the idea of the resistance. But I got to be candid with you. The resistance did not show up in the Democratic primary.
I'll give you an example. I was getting my nails done, and a young lady came in and she had on because it was St. Patrick's Day at the same time, and she had on her leprechaun ears with the green sparkles. And I said, "Oh, those are cute." I said I had forgotten all about it being St. Patrick's Day today because of the election. And she said, "Is it election today?" I said, "Yeah, it's an election." She said, "Is it the presidential?" I said, "We just elected a president not too long ago." She said, "Oh, wow. Well, what is it?" But I thought to myself, she has to be 24, 25, maybe 27 years old. How can you be so unaware of things that affect you?
John, to Gina's point, $62 million were spent in this primary. And I can only imagine in the Democratic primaries here in the state of Illinois, I can only imagine that more money is being spent in other contests around the country as well. No one can hide behind the idea that they don't know there's an election. You can't even buy time on television or on cable because the airwaves are just filled with candidates. Share with us about voter apathy, your thoughts on why voters might choose not to engage this process. Is it the choices that they have?
The data shows us a couple things. The data shows us that, yes, it's some of the choices that they have. The data also shows us that there's a real mistrust issue with Congress. Just look at the approval ratings of the president of Congress. You're talking about the lowest approval ratings in American history. Look at the approval ratings for the political parties, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. There's a significant mistrust and a significant drop in satisfaction. Now, I think there's a lot that goes into it, making promises, not keeping them, but I'm sure the big money that's being spent factors into it. And I'm also sure that the absolute lack of productivity coming out of Washington, D.C., where Congress is getting a lot more done, a lot more posts and tweets on social media, a lot more things to get themselves on television than getting laws passed and delivering on what was promised. Lowering prices, number one issue of the 2024 election. We have the highest gas prices that we've had in a decade right now because of the war in Iran. And we have significantly rising inflation right now because of tariffs. That is the opposite of what was promised.
I think at the same time, many of the districts that are the byproduct of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, many of those districts have historically been protected by law, where there's an equal opportunity for an African American or Hispanic to get elected to Congress or to state legislatures around the country. But with the Robinson versus Clay decision that is coming, I understand it to be coming very soon, certainly sometime by June, we could be looking at not only massive amounts of money coming into these districts, but redrawing the lines themselves, essentially turning historically African American districts into low-hanging fruit in the great battle between Democrats and Republicans by making them far more competitive not just at the primary level, but at the general election level as well, John.
And that is really scary to think that it can actually get worse from what we're seeing right now. It could actually be taking away more voting rights, pushing more people out of the process. And I'm really concerned about, what we see. We certainly see still, stronger participation among older voters, lower participation among younger voters. Are younger voters just going to see, look, you put so much money into this, the candidate that I like has no chance because they cannot raise this level of money, not backed by special interests. And then you redraw the districts to start significantly eliminating. Jesse, you've done the math on this. How many Black congressional public officials will we lose? How many Latino public officials will we lose? We're going back 30, 40 years now that Congress no longer looks like the people they represent.
Gina?
Yeah, as you guys were having that part of the conversation, it occurs to me that at the core of it really is capitalism for Gen Z in particular. And I've had these conversations with my children for a decade. They began, and I made sure I always took them to vote with me, so they were not a stranger to the process or to paying attention to politics. But I heard, especially my youngest daughter, saying, none of us like the idea of capitalism because it's like, Mom, when you said it's the crab in the barrel syndrome, that you have to stand on other people in order to get what it is that you want, and therefore everyone does not have. And so I think that when you think about the political process and the fact that, like John just said, people have not gotten back what they feel like they should get from their government, that really is at the core.
I'd like to talk about affordability, John, but there's another part of me that's saying every single day that gas goes up, being an American and living in our community is becoming less and less affordable. My mother, by the way, does not fly. She has me driving her to Washington, D.C. this weekend. And I can only imagine what the Indiana Toll Road, the Ohio Turnpike, and the Pennsylvania Turnpike are actually going to be like in terms of gas costs. But they may be far more reasonable than an airplane ticket. But I mean, there's 6,000 products that are made from petroleum. And, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And so if you think we were just talking about eggs and bacon, I mean, almost everything is going to go up given the conflict in the Middle East at this hour, John.
You're talking about skyrocketing costs at this point. And yes, it may literally cost as much for you to drive to DC with the way gas prices are than to fly to DC. The only difference is you won't be in a TSA line for 3 hours because that's another part of broken government.
Can we just talk about that for 1 minute? Let's not leave TSA out of this.
I mean, these workers are working. They're not getting paid. They're part of a partial government shutdown. They're working at a time when heightened security in the United States, given our adversary in the Middle East, the Iranians, could make air travel vulnerable for all Americans at this hour. But I saw a 3-hour line on CNN this morning at Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport. And I said to myself, I'm not going anywhere. And this is happening, John, right at the time, Gina, as we enter into the travel season, obviously spring break, but also summer vacation and the plans that the American people are making for the summer and for the immediate fall. Gina?
So much for your plans.
Yeah, I heard that. John?
Well, we always say elections have consequences. And it's a shame, but unfortunately, this is the consequence of the 2024 election, right? How many government shutdowns have we had so far? Just in the last, just over a year. The TSA, remember the TSA officials have been through, I think this is the 3rd time that their checks have been withheld. We're not only talking about them not coming into work anymore, probably we're going to lose a lot of those officers. They have to get a steady paycheck and they can no longer count on a steady paycheck if they work for the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Fat Meat Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward right here with Gina Towns and John Diggles.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is denying reports the U.S. could send ground troops to the Middle East as the Iran war continues.
I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. But I'm not putting troops.
He addressed the speculation during a White House meeting after reports that 2,500 Marines and amphibious warships were being deployed to the region. A judge has denied bond for Kenya Chapman, the black man accused of selling a gun to the Old Dominion University shooter in Virginia. Chapman pleaded not guilty to 7 gun-related charges. Police say he bought firearms and later sold them, with 2 linked to separate crimes. And Los Angeles is renaming Cesar Chavez Day to Farm Workers Day. Black Mayor Karen Bass signed the change following allegations that Chavez sexually assaulted multiple women, claims confirmed by United Farm Workers co-founder. Mayor Bass says Chavez's family supports the decision. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the $500,000 Luck of the Irish BMW drawing. Drawings every Thursday in March. Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the closest casino to downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating that?
Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now they get some soul food.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. So, who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So, what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year, a 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise, while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses. On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. $2 million out of $4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utility's failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits. And your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated cultural ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our two organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning Southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out africanfocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Fat Meat Fridays, and on Fat Meat Fridays, our creator, Gina Towns, is our regular host. She's the president and CEO of 519 Productions and the executive producer, creative director, and program director for the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Smiley Audio Media's KBLA Talk 1580. She's also the host of Reflectivity on Jackson's weekly series, Fat Meat Fridays, a graduate of Hampton University with a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Media Arts and Journalism. Gina also earned a Master of Arts in Theology and Social Justice from Princeton Theological Seminary. Gina, welcome forward to the show.
Well, good Friday afternoon, Jesse Jackson Jr.
It is. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God.
Hey, John Diggles, welcome forward to the show.
Diggles.
Always good to be with you,
That
Jesse
guy.
and Gina.
John Diggle's corporate mission is to advance health equity. He works at the intersection of innovation, regulation, and reputation. His skilled strategists and writers are shaping dynamic brand narratives, fostering connections across medical, professional, and patient audiences, and developing the first communication protocols for healthcare AI. John, during our campaign, you did something extraordinary and very innovative. Will you take the time and share that with our listeners, what you were able to accomplish for the first time in the history of political advertising?
It was very exciting. You know, Congressman Bobby Rush put together the draft to get you into this race, Jesse. He led the effort and put together a coalition of business leaders. Congressman Rush has been through a really tough health journey. He had throat cancer and it damaged his vocal cords. And Congressman Rush wanted to make sure people heard his endorsement for you. And endorsements don't get a lot of attention. They've sort of been watered down. But Congressman Rush and you and I sat down and talked about, can we do something with AI to give Congressman Rush his voice back? And we worked with a group that trained an AI agent on. We had plenty of footage of Congressman Rush's old speeches and videos and presentations he has done. And he and his wife and his daughter picked out the voice they wanted, and we did the first ad ever done, the first political ad ever done where we had assistive AI in the ad. We were fully transparent about why we were using it, how we were using it, and we had Congressman Rush's not only permission, but he requested for us to do it. And that ad really got a lot of attention, national attention, the first of its kind.
Congratulations on that. I was watching CNN this morning, and an incomplete movie of Val Kilmer is now coming out, where with a huge AI assist, because Val Kilmer obviously did not live to complete the film. So they have recreated Val
Mm.
to perform the remaining balance of the role that he had begun while he was living. And so, John, what are some of the implications of the use of this technology and some of the challenges?
Well, I think some of what we're seeing with AI is exactly what we did with Congressman Rush. Could it give people their voice back? Could it help people finish something they weren't able to complete in their lives? But the key thing, I mean, there's a lot of challenges when it comes to ethics, when it comes to permission, and certainly when it comes to disclosure and transparency. And I think we set an example, and you're seeing that with Val Kilmer's AI with the picture there too, that this is something that we have to disclose. We want to be transparent. There's a reason for it. It's not about replacing somebody. It is about giving somebody new opportunity, new presence, and new voice. And those are pretty exciting parts of AI. It is a huge conversation. AI is a huge conversation. And I think there's also a lot of mis and disinformation out about it. So I think responsible use and transparent use are essential for us to advance the conversation.
Gina?
Yeah, I think that fear, and some fear is founded and some is unfounded.
Irrational.
But fear, based on a lack of knowledge, is never a good thing. So I am for this type of progress. I grew up in a steel city, and in the demise of the industrial age, you find specifically for places like Gary, the south side of Chicago, East Chicago, Hammond, Indiana, Detroit, before they started really kind of putting some money, Akron, Ohio, just across the Rust Belt, the eyesore of companies and automotive companies and steel companies that were left, just abandoned as progress was made with technology. And so, here we are again with another advancement that I think that we have to be engaged with. We have to be able to be trained by it. And politically speaking, our government has to regulate it, and it has to figure out how to regulate itself as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. I fought also negative memes and negative use of AI. And, I do think that Congress, if not Congress, certainly state legislatures are going to have to act when people's persona, their voices, their names, their images are used in a defamatory way. And the penalty ought to be steep, it ought to be stiff, and it ought to be for real.
Well, when I think about this, it's very much like the artist, if you will, people who write music, who have a talent like your daughter, drawing, painting. The rights of those artists have been watered down, and that's why you saw Prince, write "slave" across his face at one point as he fought for his rights and the rights of other musicians. And I kind of liken this. There's a likeness between the regulation that needs to take place with the permissions, and that's going to have to be done by the federal government.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind about that. John, any more thoughts on the campaign itself in our final 2 minutes before we come forward?
I mean, I definitely think it is so important to have a conversation with the community and to make sure the community can participate in that conversation. Jesse, I thought you did that incredibly well. You laid out a vision. You invited people to participate. You had details down. And that was really important. And that is very different than just buying loads and millions of advertising and trying to give people that in 30-second bits. It is about inviting people into a conversation versus just a push marketing message. And campaigns must be about civil conversation and civil debate, or we're going to continue to lose the participation of the voters.
I think that's right. And maybe I'm a dinosaur in that area, because I went and pulled out charts and plans that I know were not completed at the conclusion of my term in Congress, and even my successor did not venture to undertake some of those challenges. And I found it to be very, very interesting to find out just how the people were actually engaged, like a town hall meeting, in the presentations. But I'm telling you, no matter how compelling the presentations are, you cannot overcome that spending and that last minute money that shows up dictating and directing the campaigns. I'm still shaking my head and scratching my behind at the same time. It's like a little monster. I'm just, what the hell? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, and our very special guest is none other than John Diggles. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Heading out of town this spring? Metro makes getting to LAX easier than ever. Just take the C or K train lines to the new LAX Metro Transit Center. Then catch a free shuttle straight to your terminal. Easy, affordable, stress-free. Travel smart. Go Metro. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
Oh my God! Injured in an accident? Insurance not paying what you deserve? The Law Office of Hamlin will get you paid. Call 424-266-9175. That's 424-266-9175. The Law Office of Hamlin, your legal vibe for the culture.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Good old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the final segment of our first hour of Fat Meat Fridays. Our very special guest is none other than John Diggles and our creative director and the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns. Guys, welcome back to the show. Gina. John. Oh, okay. No John, but only Gina. Hey, Gina. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Hi, Jesse.
It's Fat Meat Friday.
Jesse, you were
know what?
supposed to make an announcement. That's how.
Okay, here's our announcement. I'm on vacation next week, listeners. Jesse is on vacation Monday, March 23rd through Monday, March 30th. I am driving my mother to Washington, D.C. She does not like to fly. And so that'll be an interesting conversation for 12 hours with many, many stops along the way. It probably end up being about a 16-hour trip. So I'm on vacation next week. Jesse's on vacation. Our production team is on vacation. And we're still working through all of the details. But I'm looking forward to just a moment off to get a little bit of rest, which probably will not come from a long ride with my mother. My goodness.
Okay, Tavis, we're going to miss you.
Oh, goodness.
Miles, Andy.
Oh, my goodness.
Taz. Okay.
Hey, John, in this final segment, I do want to get some more of your insights on the war coming to the front door of every single home in America. The cost of gasoline products are going to skyrocket. This question of affordability is not the same debate about or discussion about affordability that Mamdani was having in New York. The war in Iran is changing all of that to very, very serious bread and butter issues. Not that they weren't in New York City. I'm just simply saying, if gas is $6 a gallon and you're not getting a pay raise to cover it, and every single consumer product is going to rise as a result of it, affordability is once again front and center, but it's somehow tied to this war this time.
And gas could go longer than even higher than $6 a gallon. I'm also concerned how long this could go on. Some say if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked until the end of April, we could see gas prices be high until 2027, mid-year 2027. You're talking about a full year from now. We could be $6 and $7 a gallon gas prices. Consumer prices up 20, 30, 40%. And, when you talk about gas prices, you're really talking about locking people out, not only of their jobs, but also of, getting kids back and forth to school. Gas prices is one of the things you can't afford. You might be able to pass on eggs or buying other things that have been hit by rising prices, but fuel is just a different category in our economy. And while we're talking about all of that, of course, we have to talk about the cost on human lives as well. Let's not forget that not only includes our troops, but so far that has included 175 students at a school in Iran. War is a brutal, brutal thing to go through, and the cost of lives must be in this conversation.
Gina?
Yesterday you and Johnny Mack had a conversation about economics being a form of war.
Form of violence.
Form of violence. And I was thinking while you all were talking that this is, it's an invisible war without machinery, on an onslaught to and on the American people, for all of the people, because it keeps going, right? And there's something new every day. But when this administration first took a hold of all of the departments, they got rid of the Department of Education. There's a certain amount of jobs that were lost in that. They got rid of a number of government jobs right there in Washington, D.C., many of which were held by Black women. And so, there has been what I'm going to call a raping and stripping of the American way of being able to make a living and things that we have depended on, our way of life. And this continues to go on. And so as I see the conversation you all were just having, it is while we're over here doing this in Iran and in basically nothing is passing through the Strait of Hormuz during this time. So gas prices go up, food prices go up. We don't have jobs, lack of education. You basically are just dumbing down the American public. And this eventually is going to create such a chasm between the haves and the have-nots. I mean, the elimination of the middle class has been going on for decades, but you are about to have an underclass of people that we've seen portrayed in Hollywood And many times Hollywood will tell you what is to come. But to John's point, if this continues at this pace, we're going to have some really serious problems, and people will not be able to get health care. And so you're going to see death at an alarming rate. It's unfortunate, but that's factual if we continue in this path.
I think that's right. John?
I also think that, in addition to all of these things, we have a significant loss of relationships globally now. You're talking significant erosion of America's diplomacy and international relationships. I mean, this is a really damaging time. It is a crisis, and it is urgent because our allies clearly were not brought into the conversation. And so there is a cost to that as well, a cost to America's reputation and a cost to our diplomatic ties globally.
I have a question though, John. So is this about, I hearken this back to World War II when you had 3 leaders who decided that they were going to ascend amongst the leaders of all of the nations and basically take over everything. And is that what we're looking at to some degree? Or is there a siphoning or a divvying up, if you will, with Trump looking at Greenland and Switzerland and Iceland or whatever he's looking at?
Cuba and
right.
Venezuela.
Could we be looking at the emergence of a Netanyahu, a Trump, and a Putin, with China kind of somewhere in the background looking at everybody like, really, don't come over here with that? Is that possible?
I think it's possible. I think it's happening to some degree right now. And the question will be, when it came to World War II and those leaders, there were still alliances that were forged. And we still have to wonder and look, how strong are the alliances here? Are they selfish alliances? And if it really came down to it, could we count on true allyship here? So I think it's a different scenario here. I think you make a really good point, Gina, that we have to look to and learn from history and how this went. I just think the personality dynamics here indicate some other really concerning outcome if we do not quickly reverse course.
Right, because I look at the issue of tariffs as a threat and a carrot for you to behave, Great Britain, allow us to launch from your shores or your bases, Great Britain, in order to achieve what we're doing.
And so, Spain.
Yeah, there has been some groundwork that's already been set. And so that really does, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And the allies and who they might be. And sometimes, you get yourself in a situation where you may not want to be complicit, but the economics of the situation cause you to be.
John, we've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds for a word of hope.
A word of hope is that the American people still have a say in this. The midterm elections were only through the halfway point, the primary point. And obviously the turnout for the primary was very concerning. But there are decisions to be made in November. And that's where it starts. We must go to the ballot boxes. We must make it clear how we feel about what's happening here and hold our public officials accountable. That's their performance review. Tell them how they're doing by coming out to the polls and making sure you say it loud and clear.
I appreciate that, John. So grateful for the work that you put in for the last 8, 9, 10 months on our campaign, A New Hope, Building Strength in Broken Pieces. And I think we did just that together. And I appreciate you so much, brother. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with our regular contributor and creative designer, Gina Towns, and our very special guest, John Diggles. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is denying reports the U.S. could send ground troops to the Middle East as the Iran war continues.
I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. but I'm not putting troops.
He addressed the speculation during a White House meeting after reports that 2,500 Marines and amphibious warships were being deployed to the region. A judge has denied bond for Kenya Chapman, the black man accused of selling a gun to the Old Dominion University shooter in Virginia. Chapman pleaded not guilty to 7 gun-related charges. Police say he bought firearms and later sold them, with 2 linked to separate crimes. And Los Angeles is renaming Cesar Chavez Day to Farm Workers Day. Black Mayor Karen Bass signed the change following allegations that Chavez sexually assaulted multiple women, claims confirmed by United Farm Workers co-founder. Mayor Bass says Chavez's family supports the decision. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the $500,000 Luck of the Irish BMW drawing. Drawings every Thursday in March. Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the closest casino to downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Interesting scene Thursday night in Miami when the Lakers were playing the Heat. With 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Heat fans started chanting MVP when Luka Doncic was at the free throw line. Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, has been playing like an MVP lately. During the Lakers' 8-game winning streak, Doncic is averaging 41.1 points. He dropped 60 in Miami last night, 24 hours after leaving 40 in Houston. The recent surge by the Lakers has put them 20 games over 500 for the first time in 6 years. The last time they were 20 over was January 1st, 2020. Tonight at 6, it's time for your Friday night sports fix. Out of bounds and prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You're welcome to hang out with us on the KBLA YouTube channel or hit us up at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you? Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
It's Meet Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. First time carrying over with us for another segment is Diggle. Real notable first while serving as a catalyst for growth, change, and reinvention. Recognized for superior achievement in reputation management, Mr. Diggles advises business, faith, and political leaders and brings expertise in comeback, turnaround, and reinvention. Lord knows I needed John Diggles in this campaign, and I'm so grateful for all of the work that he did for me as my campaign manager. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Jesse, great to be with you and great to share that journey with you. It was really special to have that time with you and with everyone you brought to the table.
Our entire show is created by Gina Towns, president and CEO of 519 Productions, and the executive producer, creative director, and program director for the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Smiley Audio Media's KBLA Talk 1580. She's a graduate of Hampton University as a Master of Arts in Theology from Princeton Theological Seminary. She's simply the be-all of our show. Gina Towns. Gina, welcome forward to Fat Meat Fridays.
Hi, Ray. What's her name? Jeffrey. That's right.
Thank you, Gina. And our very special guest in this hour is Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr., who has faithfully served in the preaching ministry of Jesus Christ for the past 44 years and is now serving in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area as senior pastor of Pilgrim Baptist Church. Pastor Dix comes to Pilgrim with over 30 years of pastoral experience, with much of it being urban inner city ministry experience. Pastor Dix strongly believes that the hope of any community is the gospel of Jesus Christ. He is a deep believer in expository preaching and teaching in the church community. Pastor Dix, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns and our very special guest, John Diggles.
Well, good afternoon to everyone, and I say that it's a pleasure for me to be here, and glad you all invited me. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You know you're always welcome, Gina.
What?
I heard that Pastor Dix and you want to talk about Mr. Fetterman. I really don't have much to say about Fetterman, by the way.
Because John stayed over just for this segment because we have a baton that we want to pass. So I'm going to let John Diggles pick up kind of where we left off in the first segment because, yes, you're right. Raymond does have some bones he wants to pick.
John, you're in the baton business.
I'll definitely I'll swing a baton before I pass it if this is the subject matter. But clearly our party, the Democratic Party, needs real significant change. And I know the party's going through a lot of evaluation. But still, as we look at this primary and these outcomes so far, the numbers of the PAC money being spent in, the conversation switching to who's getting what money versus the issues affecting voters, the low turnout that we're seeing so far, the Democratic Party has to really, really, really shake up the approach and put together a very, very clear platform of how it takes forward. We certainly have the leadership. Folks like Hakeem Jeffries at the table have the ability to help us do that. It is a must, and we still have to have our voices engaged all the way in pushing and challenging our party and its leadership to make sure they're paying attention to what we're feeling and living on the ground.
Gina, is there any hope for the Democratic Party?
Of course, there's always hope. Your dad, you are the DNA of Keep Hope Alive. Hope is still alive.
I'm doing fine. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. Democratic Party.
Sometimes you have to remind your children of something that you taught them when they were 4. You have to remind them again in 5th grade. You have to remind them again when they get to the place of being in middle school and they start feeling themselves and they're growing and changing. But there has to be someone who takes that leadership. There has to be some parents. You cannot just send a whole bunch of young people to Congress and think that you are going to get the result that you're looking for. You have to have pioneers. Yeah. And you have to have statesmen.
I appreciate that. I think that's true. And I even think about my own campaign. If I were not in the campaign, if I were an objective observer and watching the campaign and watching the issues raised and the way in which those issues presented themselves to the voters, this campaign, from my perspective, ultimately would have been way over the heads of the concerns of constituents.
So here's a question. Because we talked about low voter turnout. What happened here in Illinois versus Philadelphia? Philadelphia has traditionally always been one of the, like when I was in college and stuff, Philly always turned out the vote. You would have lines doubling and then it dropped off for a little while. And now this last midterm that they just had a couple of weeks ago was the highest voter turnout they had in a decade. So what is it state by state, election race by race? What is it, that we must do? I think that everybody has to formulate something that comes from a message. And I think that does point us back to the Democratic Party and the leadership that comes from not only the top of it, but for people taking responsibility for their own house.
I agree with that. I can't the difference, however, John, between what took place in Pennsylvania and what took place in Illinois, except the Democratic Party in Illinois is just essentially in Cook County and some of the collar counties. It's not statewide. It's deep red beyond Cook County. And the voter turnout was low where the Democrats are. So if they haven't had enough of ICE, if they haven't had enough of tariffs, if they haven't had enough to get up and vote. I mean, I'm like Thomas Jefferson. I shudder for my country, Pastor Dix. I shudder for my country. We have about a minute or a little less than a minute before we come forward. When we come forward, Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr. is our very special guest on Fat Meat Fridays. Gina Towns, our regular contributor. And I don't know if John Diggles is going to hang around with us, but he did do a pretty good job of passing part of the baton off.
Yeah, well, let him share a word of hope for
Yeah,
if
well,
he is leaving.
he can share a word of hope right before he comes back because we are at the break. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated cultural ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our two organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning Southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out africanfocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, and our very special guest, Dr. Raymond C. Dix Jr. is our guest. Breaking news, CBS News said Friday it will shut down its storied radio news service after nearly 100 years of operation, ending an era and blaming challenging economic times as the world moves on to digital sources and podcasts. When it went on the air in September of 1927, the service was the precursor to the entire network, giving a youthful William S. Paley a start in the business. Famed broadcaster Edward R. Murrow's rooftop reports during the Nazi bombing of London during World War II kept Americans listening anxiously. But today, CBS News Radio provides material to estimated 700 stations across the country and is known for its top-of-the-hour news roundups. The service will end on May 22nd, the network said Friday. The industry that we are in is in quick transition. Gina, I really want to go right to Pastor Dix on this question of Senator Oddball. I mean, Fetterman, from the day he got elected, has been an oddball. First of all, just aesthetically, he doesn't wear a suit. He just kind of comes in shorts and kind of comes
sweatshirt
and comes a hoodie, comes as is.
I mean, there was something I liked about that in the beginning.
He merges almost always stopping some Democratic actions and helping Trump. Pastor Dix, come on now. Who is Fetterman? And
so
why?
I think.
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thanks for asking that question. I think that's a very important question because even as you look at before you address the question of whether the Democrat Party has sufficient leadership, I think you have to ask the question: who is Fetterman and what does he represent? I think Fetterman is a morphing of ideas that have come up in a party that may need to embrace that there are diverging opinions and get back to the day when diverging opinions were welcomed and not necessarily who could ever shout the loudest is the one whose opinion we're going to go with. I think it's important to listen to somebody like a Fetterman in his odd ways. And certainly, in my lifetime, I've never seen a senator in a hoodie on Capitol Hill. But I thought I'd never see a preacher with his shirt out in the pulpit. So what do I know, right? But I think the issue really becomes listening to diverging opinions. And Fetterman is kind of like that, coming from the, kind of moderate blue area of Pennsylvania. And then now, being able to say, I've just got some different opinions and I'm not going to necessarily toe the party line. And that could be problematic in general, but there are some diverging opinions that are welling up. And it's not only just with the people in Fetterman's age group, but also among young people, as I see it in this community here.
Gina?
I have a question. Either one of you can answer it or both of you can answer it. So I specifically remember when Barack Obama became president, a new party formed within the Republican Party called the Tea Party. And then it morphed into something else. And maybe they coexisted for a while. And then it morphed into something else. And then it became MAGA. And so you still have an element of traditional Republicans. And I'll call them traditional because those are Bush Republicans. I think that the Reagan Republicans are slightly different than some of the Bush Republicans, but nevertheless, that's where they all kind of come from. This ideology that MAGA has morphed into something that has its base in Reaganomics, for sure. And Raymond and I are from Northwest Indiana, South Side of Chicago. And so when I talk about this industrial piece, the whole steel age piece, and that it was under Reagan that steel production was allowed to go to China only to send it back to America because you didn't want these people in this region to make that money to become middle class. I just am trying to understand, how is it that the Republican Party can keep themselves aligned and people do not get out of line even when they disagree, but yet the Democrats like John Fetterman and others, Joe Manchin, when he was who he was. Oh, how come we always got to stand out here and be different? Why can't you settle that stuff behind closed doors before you bring that dirty laundry out here into the news media? I'm just saying it's just like a house. My parents told me, do not repeat anything you heard in this house. What is going on with that, gentlemen?
Well, now, what was that question?
The question was, what will the Democrats do what the Republicans do? You have all these different ideologies and people and errors of Republicans that coexist together. They may not agree. They may not, all of them don't like the MAGA agenda right now. But on the Democratic side, everybody feels the need to, I'm going to have my moment in the sun.
I think that times such as these, Gina and Pastor Dix, requires a stark alternative to what Trump is doing and what the court is doing and what the Congress is doing, a stark alternative to returning to some of the norms that the people are familiar with. Constitutional government, the right to vote, the preservation of democracy, a welcoming nation for all people, a path to citizenship for immigrants, fine public schools, fine healthcare systems, decent, safe, and affordable housing, back to the norms. But I mean, we're not talking about any of that. And Donald Trump dismantling education, putting a crackpot over at the health department, Kennedy, Pam Bondi, who can't tell the truth before the Congress of the United States and won't even take an oath pursuant to a subpoena. I mean, this requires an alternative, not a Democrat who looks good, who has Kennedy's haircut, who puts their thumb on top of their index finger and talks like they're from Massachusetts. None of that. I mean, this is a time for authenticity. And the question I have is the Democratic Party going to be true to itself? Is it going to be authentic? And, that's not Chuck Schumer. I mean, that's Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, I would say, Gina, that and Jesse, that part of the problem here is both parties, I think, suffer from kind of the same thing, perhaps in a little bit of different way. Gina, you correctly brought up the point of why the Republicans don't respond publicly to things. Well, when you have a person in office that believes wholeheartedly in the scorched earth policy or practice of politics, where you actually have your whole career burned down simply because you disagree with a sitting president. And so I think there's a great fear among Republicans, and they are saying things privately that they would like to say publicly, but they got kids and grandkids, and we have a political class in Washington, D.C. that has become career-minded. And to your point, Jesse, the idea of speaking about what the people want to talk about, I think, has been passé in both parties. I think Americans have reached a place of political fatigue. They are tired. They are tired of the same old things, opening up the newspaper, turning on network news channels, and seeing each news channel siphon through the same exact story, maybe in different opinions, but over and over again. And nobody's saying that how does the person who has to get to work manage here in Indiana $3.89 for a gallon of gas? How does the person that needs food manage this? How do we deal with a governor here in Indiana who has said it was reported a $9 billion surplus in the state, that we're going to shut down child care vouchers, and then say, oh, single moms, run and get a job. What are you going to do? Leave your two-year-old at home? Absolutely not. I think that is what people are tired of, and they've got fatigue. And so voter turnout in many of these areas where this is happening has been low. Yes, it's risen in Philadelphia, but Philadelphia, I think, has a rich history of political activism that has gone on since this country was incepted. So that's the problem, in my opinion, is that you just got people tired of both parties.
Pastor Dix, I think you hit the nail right on the. I'm fatigued. I'm exhausted, and I was a candidate. I mean, I was tired.
You're tired.
So I mean,
It's exhausting.
I mean, it is exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. I mean, there is a fatigue that sets in, and one more commercial, one more text message, one more request for $1, $2, $5. I mean, it's exhausting.
Can I ask you guys another question then?
Go ahead.
As a follow-up to that?
Absolutely.
Could it be that the Republicans were so united around the anti-Barack Obama, first Black president? How dare he try to pass health care? How dare he pass this? I mean, could it be that Mitch McConnell's leadership bonded them all on one subject that, they rallied around and said, I'll be quiet about that. I'll bite the bullet even if I don't agree with that. But now we've gotten a little bit far off, and some of them are kind of like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for all of this. But I think they had a rallying point. So could that have been, do the Democrats have a strong enough rallying point? Is Trump going to make us sick enough? Trump 2.0 going to make us sick enough to where we will be able to either tell people like a Fetterman, you got to just tone it down and wait till your time. If you want to be president, but do not divide the party.
I have a question for you. Is Newsom that figure? Is Pritzker that figure?
I know a lot of people that like Gavin Newsom.
Is Wes Moore that figure? I'm saying the person whose personality can lift boats stuck at the bottom. Is that what you're hearing, Pastor Dix? Do you see them as the embodiment of, give me a reason to go out and vote for J.B. Pritzker and or Wes Moore and or Gavin Newsom. Give me a reason.
Well, actually, I think the problem here is that, again, politics has not morphed towards the middle, where maybe many of the people in my generation, maybe even yours, have want to see cooperation between the two parties. Both parties have morphed towards more extreme opinions, and some of that has been good because it's energized a base. Now let's look at it like this: you've got a Democratic progressive base that is filled with a lot of young people who are getting into politics for the first time. On the other side, you have a Turning Point USA base that is filled with young people who are getting involved with politics for the first time. But what people, I think, in my community that I see want to hear, when are we going to get the conversations? Now, Gina, to your point, whether it's Barack Obama was the catalyst for this, I think it goes back beyond Obama. I think the beginning of this was Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority and Dr. E.B. Hill coming along with him and saying, we're going to start. Yeah. And you got to love, you got to love Evie, but coming along at least initially and saying, we want to put America back on track in a moral foundation. I think that Trump, being the populist, narcissistic person that he is, recognized that those people did not have anybody in this time that was championing what they cared about. And you know very well, Brother Jesse, that the white iteration of the evangelical church morphed to that and was willing to say, we don't care what he's like personally, but this is how it is. We're going to support him.
I would agree with that. Now, on the other side of it, I don't see, which I can see on the other side of the ledger, I don't see Black supremacy as a motivating force for Black people. Black supremacy.
No.
We're not going to the polls because we're waiting for the Black Jesus to come back. Now they're going to the polls waiting to take over Jerusalem. They want a white Jesus. They want Jesus to come back. A white Jesus with blue eyes and blonde. They're gonna have to produce him at some point in time too. They're gonna have to produce him now. When they get to where they're going, they got to produce.
Get him off Grandma's wall. That's what.
But my point is, the things that motivate them to vote are not motivating us to vote. We're not in a deep ideological. We're about to be overrun by an influx of white folks in the United States. So now is our time to step up and start the Black Panther Party of Negro thought and spirituality. And let's save. That's not happening, man. It's not happening. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Me Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580 with Gina Towns and Pastor Raymond C. Dix. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Right.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Detroit, Michigan Mayor Mary Sheffield says the city will install more than 3,000 new streetlights in neighborhoods starting in July.
This is about improving safety.
The $1 million project funded by the Detroit Public Lighting Authority is aimed at improving visibility on residential streets and filling in gaps left from earlier lighting upgrades. Georgia State Representative Edna Jackson is closing the chapter on her time in public office. She delivered a farewell speech at the state capitol reflecting on her career and life's journey. The Savannah native made history in 2012 as the city's first Black woman mayor. And nearly 6 years after Chadwick Boseman's death, his widow, Simone Boseman, is sharing new details about his cancer battle. She says his diagnosis came as a surprise as he had no symptoms before being diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, which later returned at stage 4. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the $500,000 Luck of the Irish BMW drawing. Drawings every Thursday in March. Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the closest casino to downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Interesting scene Thursday night in Miami when the Lakers were playing the Heat. With 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Heat fans started chanting MVP when Luka Doncic was at the free throw line. Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, has been playing like an MVP lately. During the Lakers' 8-game winning streak, Doncic is averaging 41.1 points. He dropped 60 in Miami last night, 24 hours after leaving 40 in Houston. The recent surge by the Lakers has put them 20 games over 500 for the first time in 6 years. The last time they were 20 over was January 1st, 2020. Tonight at 6, it's time for your Friday night sports fix. Out of bounds in prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You're welcome to hang out with us on the KBLA YouTube channel or hit us up at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. So, who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year. A 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses. On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. 2 million out of 4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utilities' failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits. And your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Fat Meat Fridays with our creative show and host, Gina Towns, and also Dr. Raymond C. Dix Jr., who has served faithfully in preaching ministry of our Lord Jesus Christ for the past 44 years and is now serving in Fort Wayne, Indiana, as senior pastor of Pilgrim Baptist Church. Pastor Dix, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Glad to be here today.
Pastor, the things that are motivating white voters at this hour, or the MAGA base, are not the same things that are motivating us. And these motivating factors, or the absence of these motivating factors, are a factor in turnout. Pastor Dix?
Absolutely, 100%. When you look at how white evangelical voters in particular look at this country from a historical perspective, there's this whole idea of manifest destiny. We built this, all of those things that come into the fact that when you see the country beginning to morph into some ideological principles that they don't recognize as uniquely theirs, you get a different response from them. Now, as far as Black folks are concerned, we have toiled, we have worked, we have tried to play within the system, we tried to color within the lines, and all of these things, and yet there still seems to be some problems with us finding a way that government will work on our behalf. I am of the ilk now that I'm saying that we need to stop. We are very good at identifying problems in our community. Very good at that. This isn't working. My garbage is not getting picked up. This is not happening. What we need to become proficient at, Brother Jesse and Gina, is crafting solutions that lift us out of the situation without depending on the government to do more than what they're capable. I'm a very strong believer in don't ask someone to do something that's beyond their ability. If you do, you're going to always be disappointed.
Dr. Dick, Reverend Dix, listen, we can do that. Let me be contrarian for just a moment. We can do that without running for office.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need a politician to do what you just said.
Absolutely.
So, and then voting can go to zero, and we can just hang around the idea that there are some things that we need to agree on as a community that we need to uplift and stay right there in that space. But there is something that the government can do, and not just the federal government, but local governments, state governments. There is something that we can do that should compel us to vote for our representatives with all of the things that we can do in our community. Paving streets ain't one of them. Building sidewalks ain't another one. Bringing grocery stores to our community ain't another one. So, that's somebody else's job who needs voters to turn out. The funding of public schools, those individuals need voters to turn out. And so I don't know a message of hope that ties why turn out with the candidate themselves, unless the candidate themselves is the embodiment of that hope.
Yeah, I think you raised some very important issues. I don't mean to give the impression that government does not have a role. I think sometimes we ask government to go beyond that role to dealing with things that are clearly issues in our community that we're not addressing or crafting solutions to. And one of those things is why aren't our younger people even more engaged with the process of knowing exactly what government should be doing, and be able to measure that and hold accountable those elected officials that need to be held accountable. Now, you mentioned the ideal of public schools. Here in Indiana, there is a very interesting dynamic that we see. I am a product of a mixture. I spent the first 8 years of my scholastic career in a public school, and then the last 4 in a private school. And so I have a perspective maybe on both sides. But here's what I see. I see the governor of our state making dollars available for families that now earn in excess of $200,000 to be able to use vouchers to keep their Catholic in Fort Wayne. It's a big Lutheran town, keep their Lutheran schools open. These schools, Jesse, were dying before these vouchers came along. Now, I'm going to say this. Nobody has given to public schools more blood, sweat, and tears, in my opinion, than Black people. Mm-hmm. We have been sold out to public education. Mm-hmm. I think it's time we ask the question, if our children are not receiving the kind of education, in Indiana, there are no black vouchers and white vouchers. They're just vouchers.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to look at exercising the freedom to establish schools that are meeting the needs of our inner city children.
I think that's right. Gina, you have a clip that you want to play.
I sure do. What I have done, I pulled some interesting conversations, a clip from here, there, and a little bit of everywhere from this week. So let's see what we got and have a conversation, dig a little deeper.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse.
And about our children not getting an equal high quality education for the time that they are in school. We can have a debate about, we'll get to it eventually and fight for the public schools. But if it's not happening right now when my child's in the 9th grade, I can put up the best fight I can in the public school for my child till he's in the 12th grade to get the best education he can. But he needs it now. She needs it now. Not when the system comes around to fixing the schools. They need it now. So parents ultimately end up doing the best that they can for their kids. They move them to all kinds of schools, and ultimately, as you know, vouchers end up, from my perspective, taking money out of the public system, making it equal high quality. And after Brown versus the Board of Education, we actually had this conversation yesterday on our show that public schools before Brown versus the Board of Education didn't have a resource problem. They were all white. And we were fighting to go from our side of town to get into those public schools that were doing and performing extremely high standards with all the bells and whistles. And then when we came, then they stopped funding even schools on that side of town and started arguing for vouchers. So it's still part, from my perspective, and the voucher debate has always been tied into the nation's race conversation.
I think you're 100% correct on that. I'll give you an example. We just went through something here in Fort Wayne. We have a wonderful leader here in Fort Wayne that was a former deputy superintendent of the Fort Wayne Public Schools who retired and saw the discrepancy in how our students were being addressed and the issues with our students in the more urban sections of Fort Wayne. So she put forth the idea to start a charter school. Here is what the response has been from Fort Wayne Community Schools. You had a person who worked for Fort Wayne Community Schools insinuating that a 107-year-old Black church with a building that is valued to rebuild at over $12 million would somehow be unsafe to host or hold a school in that building. That is incredulous to think that the audacity of the white community is that we can send our school kids to parochial schools and teach and work in the public school system, but you don't have the freedom to do so.
That's
part of that problem.
It's Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr. is our very special guest, along with Gina Towns. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Business lines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Breathe easier with the South Coast Air Quality Management District mobile app. Get real-time air quality updates, forecasts, and alerts when air quality is poor right on your phone. It's free and easy to use. Just search South Coast AQMD and download today. What's your air quality?
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavish Smiley. So, who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year, a 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise, while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses. On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. $2 million out of $4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utility's failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits, and your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavish Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
It's our final show before we go on vacation next week, and I certainly hope that our Gina, you have a clip that you wanted to play.
I do. I'm just going to get everybody in. And then,
Pastor Dix, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
yeah,
Thank you. Glad to be here.
let's go to the clip.
It was a fight, and he was a football player, and I had never imagined myself ever with an athlete. And I was on my way to the canteen at A&T State University. At that time, it was a college. And the football boys would gather and create a line, a line on both sides of the sidewalk. So every woman who went into the canteen had to be subjected to their little wolf calls and their little smart remarks, and they would all try to outdo each other, of course. So as I came through, I decided to do my little model strut. And Reverend said, through all the calls, the little calls, cat calls, and etc., whatever you refer to them as, that the men made, his call got my attention. And he said, "Girl, I'm going to marry you." And I turned around to him and I said, "Big boy, come up and see me sometime." So, of course, my response to him had the guys really ribbing him about having been challenged. And that started it all. And it was fun. And we became friends. And as he began to involve himself even more with the civil rights movement,
The first moment that she met the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and on North Carolina A&T State University's campus. She was our guest on the show this week, and some of our highest ratings are when my mother's on our show. But she's been through a lot since February 17th.
Okay, so we're end of the show, unfortunately, because I have great clips from this week. But I'm so glad we got that one in, because she was just so delightful. And you talked about how, let's say, because following up to that, she says, I wanted to find out about him. He couldn't just be playing football. I needed to know, could he help me write this paper on civil rights?
In the finance relationship. That's right.
Before I involve myself, because I got an agenda for my life, and I like that about her. And I pray, if I have a word of hope right now, is that we will all be that way with one another, that we will challenge each other in our friendships, our relationships with people that we like to think taller, think broader, think deeper, and think higher, like your mom did. And then you talked about the city council meeting in which they totally honored your dad and what he has brought, not to just the city of Chicago, but to the nation in helping us in our somebodyness and the hope that comes from that.
Gina, that was absolutely beautiful. Pastor Dix, we have about a minute and 20 seconds for a word of hope.
Well, first of all, let me extend my deepest and most heartfelt condolences to you and your family in the passing of your father, the icon. And it is wonderful to see that you have two parents that are iconic in many ways. And I think the hope for us today in our community, if we take it along that same line, you had the blessings of being raised by icons, and that came with some cost too, I'm sure, as well. But every parent can be a hero or a shero, whatever the case may be, and embrace that role of a parent. Pour everything that's good about you into your children, because these next emerging generations may be faced with things that Black folks haven't been faced with in maybe since the inception of this nation. So be a hero or shero to your children. You may not be an icon, but you will make a difference.
Pastor Raymond C. Dix Jr., pastor of the Pilgrim Baptist Church in Fort Wayne, Indiana, has been our very special guest. It's been Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. We're off next week. First time we've been off in a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Very grateful to KBLA for all that it allows us to do. We're going to take a little break. Until then, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.